Yes, Giorgio, born in Jersey.
Demetriou, this is a representative of the Ombudswoman. Not Ombudsman, I would say Ombudswoman.
Yes,
Mrs. Josie Christodoulou, she's the gender advisor at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Yorgos Panagiotou is a master student in our university and a graduate from our university as well. Our beloved colleague, Mr. Dimitris Tsaltas, is the Gender Smart coordinator in Cyprus. So we will tell a little bit more later on. Dear Rector, dear Director of the Administration and Finance, dear member of the Board of Directors, dear EUt coordinator, I hope so I'm not missing anyone, Professor Kalogiru, dear colleagues, dear friends. I was flipping through yesterday through the European University of Technology proposal, and the first sentence of the European University of Technology proposal states, EUt is about future. We believe it is the future, that is embracing the science, the education, the technology, the research, but above all, what I like most, and I think all of us need to underline, that is human-centered and community-oriented. Hence, its motto, think human first. At this point, I would like to thank the rector, the vice rectors, Professor Kalogiru and his team, other colleagues from the academia and administration as well and management, the Gender Smart project team, the quality committee of the university, and the EUt partners that contributing to the success of this project. Well, dear guest speakers, thank you for accepting this invitation and participating in this celebration of initial steps of implementing the project European University of Technology. The discussion today will be on three thematic areas: the quality, inclusivity, and diversity. This event is much importance for the Cyprus University of Technology, but also for many other universities in Europe, hence its presence here today, aiming in the establishment of the European University of Technology based on the principles of equality, gender equality and inclusiveness for all. Well, please allow me, since I have the floor, that I have to pat on Cyprus University of Technology achievements. CUT already made some important steps and acted upon this, such as having the establishment of the Equality Senate Committee, the development of the Gender Equality Plan, and the development and adoption of a sexual harassment code at workplace. Of course, there is much more to be done in regards to inclusiveness and also equality. Well, our discussion today will be in three parts. First, I will give 1 minute to each guest to make a general statement about equality, diversity, and inclusiveness. Then we will have some general questions that you will have about 3 or 4 minutes to respond, and then we will go to a more targeted, focused question. So, Madam President, the floor is yours just for a general statement in regards to equality and inclusiveness.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today with excellent colleagues and an excellent thematic, you will allow me to say. I'm sure that the 1 minute time allocation was for me, so I will try to be very short and to the point. I think we'll all agree how important is this thematic, and I warmly congratulate you for what you are doing as a university, because it's very important, all the sectors, all of the factors, to realize how crucial it is our role to underlining the necessity for the equality to be prevail, the diversity to be included, and also for inclusivity as well. I need to mention, and I will leave my speech behind, because as you can see, I don't know how many pages it is, that before one week I was in Vienna participating in a conference, and one of the outcomes was that the parliaments, after especially the pandemic, we need to show that we are active, we are alive, and we need to be in front of the many policy and decision-making level that we need to do in order to be in front of the society and people, in order to do a lot of things, and yes, to proceed further, especially with law reforms, the radical reforms. They are necessary because the society is not ready yet to accept some things or realize the necessity of these things. So it's very important, and I do believe that we need to give a clear stigma to what needs to be done, and so that everybody will be included, especially now with what is going on with the pandemic. I should also mention that in Cyprus, as you know, because of the Cyprus problem, we don't have the ability to use our whole island, because there is still going an occupation in Cyprus of 37% of our country. That is that the Cyprus government is prevented from assuring the full realization, especially about women's rights and the equality between women and men in whole of its territory. That is very, very important to realize how we can use these thematics, especially for the Cyprus problem as well, because everybody needs to be part of this procedure to restart the negotiations and of course manage to have a just and viable solution in compliance with the resolutions of the United Nations, in compliance with the legal order and so on. So I need to say that as a parliament we are trying to do a lot of things. I'm sure you will ask me later on, because we do underline and we do realize the necessity of having a lot of law reforms about the specific subject matter. I'm very satisfied that most of you, we did have a great collaboration about a lot of reforms such as sexism or the Convention of Constantinopolis and so on. So it is our role, and I will be gladly today to hear a lot of different views how the Parliament can show and give a clear line to the direction we want. So thank you once more for this opportunity. I want to mention lastly, but very, very briefly, that it's very important for us as a parliament to give priority for equality, for diversity, for inclusion. And there will be a clear direction towards that with some personal initiatives. But also, you would allow me to say that here I'm participating, representing all my colleagues in all political parties, which I do think they do share the vision that our future will be better if democracy is equally represented. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today, and of course I'm at your disposal for any questions or discussions later on.
We have everything recorded now.
Thank you.
So we will check. Mrs. Demetriou.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you and share some views on these very, very important issues. I represent the Ombudswoman. Our official title is the Commissioner of Administration and Human Rights Protection. Our office has been provided with broad functions of protecting, promoting and guaranteeing human rights as a national institution for human rights according to a very important UN resolution. Also, we are acting as an equality body in accordance with EU directives, and our purpose is to promote equality and non-discrimination, including gender equality and non-discrimination on the basis of many grounds such as race, religion, belief, etc. In several occasions, we have used our wide powers, both to ensure awareness on these specific areas and also to monitor the implementation and coordination of the measures taken at national level in order to promote equality, or more specifically, combat violence against women and discrimination against people with disabilities, and several. And I would also like to mention that according to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, we have been designated to be the independent monitoring mechanism at national level for the promotion, protection, and monitoring the implementation of the convention at national level. It is a very important role. We have to act, and we believe that especially now, under this state of emergency due to the COVID pandemic, we have issued a lot of important guidelines and recommendations to the state on how to respect the rights of vulnerable groups, such as people with disability, in their rights. I will talk later in more detail about this issue. Thank you again.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a real honor to sit alongside all great colleagues, and of course the President of the Parliament, as the first woman in Cyprus to be the President of the Parliament. Just to answer in short your question as a general statement on gender equality, I think that what we are facing today when it comes to women's rights, we are facing a pushback on human rights and women's rights specifically. It's not me that I'm stating this, it's all the international community, the UN, the Organization for Security, and the European Union as well. What we are seeing is that women in 2021 are still underrepresented in decision making. Women are still facing violence. Worldwide, 1 in 3 women will fall victims of any form of violence at least once in their lives. And we can see this, we can count here, look around you, or on the panel, 1 in 3 might fall victims. Or if we want to change the discourse, maybe 1 in 3 men will be those who will be the perpetrators. At the same time, 90% of people that are falling victims of human trafficking are women. And what we see, I will take the example of Afghanistan, women will face barriers in education. So having said that, I think we have a long way to go. Although there are positive steps forward, at the same time there are steps that take us backwards, and this is what we need to take in mind when we draft policies, recommendations, and measures. And one last thing, just to have in mind when we are discussing, most of you here are academics, and we're saying these beautiful words.
Because if not, I think it will be very difficult, and I believe that the most important thing is that we must understand each other, and that will happen only when most people are educated by the difficulties each person faces. And I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you. Professor Faltas?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us here today. It's really an honor. It's really an honor working for the Cyprus University of Technology, and as a teacher, I have to be inspiring. It's an oath that we have to give to our students and to ourselves. So let me tell you that I'm a microbiologist, so you will probably wonder, what the heck am I doing on this stage talking to you about gender? Well, it's a matter about everybody. So in 2017, a lot of colleagues from a lot of prestigious universities and funding organizations in the European Union had asked us to join a project called Gender Smart that was going to change the setup of universities of higher education in the European Union. I looked for female colleagues to be leading this effort, and I didn't find interest, and I was disappointed. Years later, now that we are implementing, I can fully understand why is that. Because they have to look after for their career in a specific field of science, which I have the privilege, because I'm doing this, but I'm having a lot of backup at home. There is a wife who is an amazing scientist who left her research career to go one step behind to help her husband excel in his career. So these are the realities which we have to acknowledge, and we have all to fight for this common cause, because nowadays I also lead a team with a lot of young girls, which I want them to see them replacing me and many other men at an equal level. So it's not a matter of what you have studied, it's not a matter of who you are. We all have to do something about it, from very small to very big things. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, first, probably you didn't look the right direction to find a woman. But on the other hand, maybe everything happens for a reason. So it was a good opportunity for you and your team to get involved with the gender issues. So thank you, because the whole team has helped the university to make a lot of progress in regards to gender. Well, thank you all. Let's start, have prepared some questions. So one of the objectives of the EUt is to promote the Europe to be inclusive for all, and particularly, and one area is gender equality. So my question is how the state, the services, the ministry, the institutions, what actions can take to successfully adopt and implement inclusivity and gender equality? What can be done from your side in promoting this? So anyone can start, but I will give Madam President the floor first, please.
I think the answer for me is clear, and it is legislative action is mandatory and crucial to give the answer towards that, but also to be responsible for the implementation as well. And there comes the ministries, there come the NGOs, the role of the NGOs, the role of the society, but they need to have a clear line. And we need to be in front of that and give the line. Because, and we try to do that, and in the recent years, I need to say, because you know that the European Union has conventions, the United Nations, they do have conventions. They show the line, so it's up to our duty now to follow that and put into practice and law reforms into our systems and have the necessary legal framework to allow people to fully enjoy their fundamental rights and have equal opportunities, and of course eliminate all forms of discrimination against a lot of groups. I need to say, I do prepare a catalogue here trying to see what we have in Cyprus, and the truth is that the recent years we did a lot of good work, but still is not adequate. We have to do a lot of things, because as regards to the empowerment of women, we do have the ratification of the Lanzarote and Istanbul Conventions of the Council of Europe, which is truly important. And also over the recent years, we did have also some law reforms, like it is the combating sexism, and we are one of the first countries that they did that all over Europe. I think it's Malta, the first one, and I do thank Josie for that, because together we prepare something to put it in front. And I think we given a very good message, because there was a horizontal, if you allow me to say, from all the women, from all the political parties, and we show and we pass the message to the people that as far as human rights are concerned, because equality is a matter of human rights, we are all united towards one general scope. And it's very important to continue with that, and also have a lot of other law reforms. We do prepare some more things I'm not allowed to say for the moment, but it's very important to have you as competitors, as let's say allies to this effort, like they are the NGOs, the scientists, people. That is why we need to find the ways as well to hear more people about those thematics and chase those subjects. So also I need to say that now we are preparing a draft legislation in order to amend the penal code so that it includes a specific term about the feminicide and not murders, because we need to give a clear line also to that. And on Friday there will be on the plenary session, and I'm personally signing that. And I think it's very important that the Speaker, the President of the House, is giving a clear stigma for the direction that the House will implement. And a lot of things, of course, we need to have. I will give a clear statement as well that I'm very much in favor of the quotas, and I do believe they are necessary because numbers do matter. So I think it is time, and I would like to hear your statements as well, to have a law reform about that as well. I don't know how applicable it is, but it is about time, because we don't want to spend another 200 years chasing the correct numbers or to have the democracy to be represented equally. So that is why I do believe, and I strongly believe, that we need, and I will keep saying that, we need to have radical and imminent reforms, because otherwise it's going to be too late, and it's already too late about some things. In the Parliament we are only 8 women out of 56. We don't have any women representative in the European Parliament. It is the first time we do have a woman President, Speaker of the House, so you can understand how much way we have until we will have equal representation. So that's for the moment.
Yeah, but it gives me the chance. I mean, I was going to ask specific questions later, but now I have, you know, I cannot resist, you know, and I have to say, I mean, how can the Parliament effectively monitor and implement the law? I mean, the law is great. I mean, and it's a great initiative in regards to the femicide and the implementation, the
actions. And this is why it's important, the so-called gender budgeting. This needs to be mainstreamed horizontally in all governments. And if I may say a bit of what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is doing, as you are well aware, Minister Christodoulidis decided to mainstream gender in foreign policy in 2019. And the ministry has done a number of things. One which is important, and I think Madam President mentioned it before, is the open and direct dialogue with civil society and academic institutions. And the door of the ministry is open. We are very open. We are very often having open consultations with civil society, and this is how the framework of action of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on gender mainstreaming was adopted. It was through consultations with diplomats, political parties, and civil society. So it's very important to have open and a structured dialogue with all actors involved. Another example is the fact that we're moving forward with the preparation of memorandum of understandings with different academic institutions, that we can work together on women in diplomacy, for example. If I may say here, international relations, it's a very masculine environment. It requires a lot of traveling. You mentioned before that your wife stayed home so that you can be a professional. But imagine working as a diplomat. It's very difficult, family and conciliation life. And this is what we try to promote within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And what we did was an internal research, a mapping survey on identifying the different barriers faced by women and men diplomats in order to draft internal policies so that we can overcome that. And one last thing, just to summarize, if I would summarize what we try to do at the ministry, and I can explain later, We did the policy planning, that is the framework of action, that is the guideline within the ministry of the actions that can be undertaken by the MFA, which includes the multilateral fora, bilateral collaboration. When I say multilateral, I mean be actively engaged within the UN, the EU, and other international organizations, but bilaterally with other countries to engage in different programs. We have successfully mainstreamed gender in the developmental policies of the ministry, and the crucial one is to mainstream gender within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So that is the structural change, the participation, if I may call it, and may I say that the minister created, together with the permanent secretary, a special unit on gender mainstreaming in foreign policies within the MFA. So you need policy making, you need, law, political will, budget, and expertise. I think these are the ingredients.
And also you need a monitoring, an independent monitoring authority. And this is where our mandate comes. And our main role is to connect the theory, the legislation, with the implementation. What we do in practice is to examine complaints of real people. We examine how all these legislation we have, the policies, the practices, are transformed in reality for usual people in their daily life. And when we come to investigate such situations, complaints that may seem simple or more complicated issues, we are in the best position, I can say, to identify the gaps. Gaps that are related either to the legislation. For example, a few years ago we identified that in Cyprus we didn't have legislation against stalking. So, for example, a woman who was a victim of such a behavior, when she visited the police to complain about what she had faced, she got the answer that, okay, but there is nothing we can do, because if somebody sends you flowers every day in your private place or at your workplaces, it's not illegal. But if you have a legislation about stalking, and if you have the proper description of the behavior, you can understand that yes, this is a criminal behavior. And this is an example to say that we first identified that this gap we had, and then after we submitted a report, the Parliament started discussing the issue, and now we have a legislation on stalking. The same about sexism. I would like to add that it was also one of our recommendations to have a proper legislation in dealing with sexism. And we are very lucky here in Cyprus because we have a very close cooperation between NGOs, academics, independent authorities, and the Parliament. In the Parliament, especially the last few years, we've done so important steps towards equality and towards better legislation. But we still have a lot of problems in implementation. And in many reports we have submitted, we identified inadequacies and deficiencies of the protection in practice. And we know that, of course, we need more budget. The most common excuse we hear from the public authorities is that, okay, we don't have staff, so we cannot have one policeman for each case, or we don't have enough enough social workers to deal with domestic violence cases and so on and so on. But it might be a good excuse. We understand that, okay, it's valid, but we also need more awareness raising in order to show the importance of these issues. We need a lot of training. We have so many officers of different services who come to work together, but they have different visions or they have different guidelines, but we need them to cooperate, especially in more complicated cases, and we need more clear protocols. And unfortunately, we have a very bureaucratic public service. It takes time for everything. I mean, we discuss again and again. And
time. Let's hope that it's not years, you know.
In some cases, it's years. But and the problem is that the reality goes faster than our services and our initiatives. And okay, we all do what we can do about this issue, and our office is there to show the way and cooperate with all the competent authorities in order to move forward over and over again.
Thank you. I don't know if you want Tsatsakas? Yes.
I would have to say the few things, more specific things, so you can all hear and understand what is about all this, making all these things that have been heard in a more practical way in the micrography of our world, of our society, which is a university, which is actually also a cell of things getting born and getting out to the society. So funding, yes, you need money, and that's why the European Union gives and gave, and it will give in the coming years a lot of money towards this direction to fund, support the changes. That's what we got advantage, and we are doing changes because you need the people to work, to record, as you said, the what's going on, because if you don't know what is going on, there are no metrics, and always in the humankind we needed metrics because you see them and you say, I'm going better or I'm going worse. So this is one important thing that we are building here at the Cyprus University of Technology by having a new system of measuring all our activities, how is the gender aspect and the whole equality aspect is growing, hopefully, and not going worse. We also making as a change, but as I've said in my first statement, you don't need the experts only. You need all of us. So we are working all together with the experiences we have, and we are trying to meet halfway between each other, but also with the key element, which is the top management of any institution, even at a national level or European level. So we have colleagues, we have students that we are trying to engage, and we're trying halfway to meet with the management, which obviously needs to be proactive, needs to make real changes, real decisions actually before the changes as individuals to go ahead, probably being slightly exposed, probably taking decisions which are not going to be liked by a lot of people, men and women, because biasing for various reasons, it's a human nature, unfortunately. So we have to get out of our way and make these changes with a lot of help, monetary help, organizational help, And this is all about one of those many projects that are taking place right now in Europe. It's not only gender smart, there are a lot of projects similar in a lot of European universities trying to change core values of these institutions which are actually offering those new professionals that will come out, members of of this society, both in academia and research, but also in a professional world. Most of the graduates will not be in the academia after graduation, will be in the professional field. And we need to change with them the professional world as well, the industry. The industry is also very much biased in many, many things, including gender.
Okay. Well, Madam President, since you are an acting president, please take a note about budget. We may succeed something, so we take the chance, take advantage of you, since you are here now. Since I heard this from everybody, I mean, it's not only budget, but it's important, and it plays an important role. So,
Yes,
at least make a note. Maybe
I have a lot of notes, and actually today I was in charge of the Council of Ministers. I have a lot of ideas, but I said I will keep them for myself because they will kick me out of the country. I'm just kidding. We need to have to do a lot of things, and I think you are very right that I think that and also the government should give more emphasis. I'm not saying that nothing has been done. A lot of things in the recent years have been done, and let's be true about that and honest, but a lot of more things they need to follow. So yes, I do cherish your thoughts, and you know how much sensitiveness we do share. All that we did had a lot of difficulties, and I will stay until here, until we manage to be in this position. So our main task is to open the pathway for more people to follow and be treated equally. So that is our main goal, and that is, I believe, that in the Parliament and the government and all of us, we need to do the best we can towards that.
Thank you. George, you want to say something? Yes, please.
Yeah, I would like to add that I believe that the educational system and the educational institutions like universities can play a big part in changing the world and leading to acceptance of diversity. And I'm very happy, for example, that my university provided me with the chance to speak up, to let the world know what I believe, and I encourage every young person in my age to speak up, provide the world with their own ideas. For example,
Support for working or studying mothers and fathers, of course, so that these people can continue their professional and student life.
Thank you. Ms. Christodoulou, you want to say something?
I just wanted to add to both of you and give names, if you like, to what is being said. I think we need a lot of role modeling, especially in STEM, and I would like to publicly congratulate Panayota as well for all her excellent work that she's doing on the issue. So we need the universities to teach in a more critical way in order for students to leave their comfort zones. We need to teach students how to challenge more, how to raise questions more, and not take for granted or accept what is being told. I think, Yorgos, you mentioned something very crucial, and if I would categorize it, I would say that we need to openly discuss and decide about our values and principles of how do we want our institutions to run, what are the main values, what are these principles, and how, again, we can actually implement those. That's from me. And I don't know if anyone else wants to add.
If you allow me just to add that, because I was sure that Josie was going to mention the role models is very important, because we all passed very recently, of course, from universities. We need to realize that we need to put female role models as well and put them in front, because the truth is that bibliography as well is it's not sufficient. I was remembering when I was doing my research about sexism in language, and I couldn't find any bibliography in Cyprus, any book. So you can understand how much lack of this in the science field there is for these thematics. So I do believe that the universities can play a crucial role towards that, to put the right models in front. And also, you will allow me to say that beyond accessibility and awareness in all level of education, and so also matter in higher education, it's very important the principles in boards, committees, panels. There must be a clear line, 50% equal representation, otherwise universities shall not take participation. I'm planning to do the same, actually, I cannot do that inside the Parliament, but we can do that and give a clear line in panel discussions, because I don't want just for the women to be the majority or the only representatives in every 8th of the March about the Women's Day. Let's leave men also to have a clear opinion about that, and see what they can do. And I'm glad that it is the first time now in the Committee of Human Rights. We do have some men participating, members of the Parliament, because the last time we were only women concerned about those thematics. So we need to give a clear line, and we did stigmatize that, and now we can see that all the parties, they put also men. So it's very important to give a clear line also to that. And of course we need to mention the role of the media. Here it's very important for the media to not to guide them, but show them that the way they are representing some things is not correct, it's not appropriate, and it is offensive. So I think we need to guide them correctly, make them realize we want to help them. We did something similar about the children. What we did about it was about the children's rights and so on.
But we're doing it for femicides as well,
Yeah.
the way they report femicides, and I
Yes,
think...
and we stopped some announcements as
exactly.
well, and thank God about that. But we need to give them a correct mandate, how they can represent, because sometimes the lack of awareness is what you said, is that it's not that they do that on purpose, they don't know how to present it
It's
correctly.
the use of language.
Exactly, the use of language and the expressions as well. And for example, when I was elected, I couldn't see everywhere that I don't know, you're recording as well, but I couldn't see everywhere that I'm blonde, or I don't know. They don't care. They want to see what is my philosophy. They want to see my position. They want to see what are my priorities. So I don't want them to judge me because I'm a woman. I don't want them to judge me how I look. I want them to judge me what I'm saying, what I'm passing, what are my efforts. So we have to give a clear line about that as well. And you can do a lot of things as universities, because I need to say, and I'm staying on that more of our concerns, they are not derived from the school. They are from universities, because we are up to the higher education level to realize how important are those thematics. That is why I do believe that universities, they can be very influential.
Madam Chair, if I may, just give a concrete example that is related to what Madam President just said about her looks. I remember we were on a TV panel discussing when her name was on the table to be the President of the Parliament. And the discussion was if it's correct because she's a woman or not. So I would not mention what the Madam President already said, but what I remember, and that is connected with the bibliography, I remember answering to a question and saying exactly that. I don't know what will happen, whether Ms. Demetriou will be elected or not, but what I know is that in 20 years, 30 years, when a young woman is studying women in politics, she will go back, speaking of bibliography, and see that this name was for the first time on the table. A woman, so it's important.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, this is a huge achievement, and we congratulate you once again about this. I will give the floor to Dimitris, please. Yes.
Starting again with what has been heard, we don't all sit at this chair. Okay,
Yes.
we are not all blind. So that's why, as George said, we don't understand a lot of things. And you need really to be brainwashed every day to realize these things, to be reminded about these things. And this is the role of education, accommodation. We discuss it nowadays a lot. The university here is trying to build and is on the process of building new residences, student residences, because they have to be, as you said, reasonable accommodation. And people don't understand. They think it's a socialistic, probably communistic way of living. Okay, cheap accommodation. Yeah, that's also an equality issue, so everybody can afford. But beside that, let's go to gender. These residences need to be safe, need to be easily accessible to the girls in the middle of the night. I remember when I was doing my PhD, I had to stay overnight because I was a student residence warden to escort girls back from the greenhouses that they were doing experiments, or some other us or the security guys stay with them in the middle of nowhere in the fields, having to measure the aroma of roses and doing analysis. So a lot of everyday things that we don't think about them, but they are very, very important, and they are not just words, because actually these words are brainwashing on the bad way our brain daily. Okay, we like it or not, some languages more. The Greek language has a lot, defines very easily the gender, and even the most of us that we are getting trained, if you're not keeping it constantly, getting trained, talking about it, you lose it. That's human nature, because it's easy to be biased. Our brain works easier to find easy ways out, solutions, and this needs constant education, constant awareness of staff and students.
This is very important because you all said about the education, and we are a university community, but it has to do also with the culture. I mean, how we are brought up, how we have been raised. The language, as me particularly in Greek, because we use male and female language. So this is, you have to think twice how you use the language. I mean, there is not a neutral way to put the language. I mean, and also in French, my colleague, there is male and female, so you have to think about how you use language. I mean, this is very much important. So what I was going to ask, what I hear is that we all have the will to do and to help and to be an inclusive, let's say, university, and collaborating with all the European universities, and have as a principle equality. In practical way, how we can collaborate, how the state, the ministries, the academia, the all relevant stakeholders, how they can collaborate. I will, you want to speak first?
No, I don't mind.
I will give the floor to Josie, because he spoke about practicality, the implementation of this.
Well, obviously I cannot speak on behalf of the state. So what I can provide you with is practical examples when it comes to national policies and foreign policies and how these are connected, including with the Parliament. One example is, first of all, the foreign policy when it comes to gender equality and women's rights is not something different, because I remember when I was first appointed in 2019, there was some criticism saying, do we have gender equality in Cyprus and now we need gender equality in foreign policy? Actually, yes. it's a two-way process. Ms. Demetriou mentioned before the Istanbul Convention. Who represents Cyprus at the Council of Europe? It's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Who represents Cyprus in other countries where they sign conventions? It's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So it's been, now the ministry, because it's a political priority, we do have a voice on the multilateral fora, and these policies are brought back home. So it's a two-way process, and these two can be married. Another example is the fact now that we are implementing a project with Norway on strengthening our bilateral relations on 1325 Women, Peace and Security resolution of the UN. So what we have done, and this is tomorrow actually, we are having Norwegian experts in Cyprus who will have an open discussion with all relevant authorities in Cyprus of how to best implement 1325 in Cyprus, that we have adopted a national action plan in December. So this is another example of how different ministries can work, and I'm talking specifically with the MFA and other ministries. Another example, if all goes well with the what Madam President mentioned about femicides, that she's now will propose to change the penal code, is that Cyprus can take this on a different level. We can go to UN and say Cyprus is implementing that on a legislative level. We will see how we will put it in practice, and we will push for other countries to have a similar legal line. You will say again, okay, enough with the laws, we need implementation. But as mentioned, we need legislations that they give guidelines and see how to take forward. So that's from me when it comes to collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the Parliament and other governmental institutions.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, if you allow me to say that it's very important to add to what Josie said, the national strategy as well. So I know there are some gaps, but we need to follow that and see and underline what are the necessities to make the strategy more strong, more adequate. And of course, it's very important, not only in a national level, but worldwide and at a European level, to see the connection, the exchange of views, and also the exchange of good practices for an initiative that will be taken in Cyprus or for an initiative that will be taken in another EU member state or in the world, because we need to show our solidarity not only what concerns us, but what concerns the world as a whole. For example, we cannot stay silent what is going on in Afghanistan. That is why I did send personally a letter to all my colleagues, say that we need to show not only our sensitivity, but our concern, what is going on just next to us, because we cannot show only sensitivity what concerns the EU or what concerns our country only. So it's very important for us to participate in a lot of worldwide conferences, like it is the Women's Week here, the UN Women, and so on, and give a clear stigma that we do first realize what it has been done to the parliaments. For example, when we did have the IPU conference the other days, we did sign a declaration about the gender equality and also about the youth in parliament and the necessity of the participation of the youth in the parliament. And it's very important to also give an emphasis that it's not only what concerns Cyprus, it's what concerns the other countries as well, and that united we do realize the necessity of implementing good practices and laws, or I don't know, policies. This is the way it has been done. And also, I think personally we can take in what we represent, in where we are, a lot of initiatives. For example, you talk about the resolution 1325. Today, actually, I did prepare a letter. This is confidential, of course, and I'm going to address that to the president of the country, that we need to have women in the negotiation procedure. It's not correct to have only men into that table. So I think we can give our stigma to a lot of things. We need to realize that we need to dare, if you allow me to say, to be in front and give the correct guidelines.
Thank you. If you have any comment, and then, yes, please.
I would like just to add one practical example from our experience. Because in my view, everything is like a chain, and each of us should take the responsibility, his or her own responsibility to take everything a step further. For example, let me tell you about the history of the Code of Conduct on Sexual Harassment. At first, we had a directive, an EU directive, saying that sexual harassment is a form of discrimination. Then we had a national legislation and an article 12 in a certain law saying the same thing. After a while, we had 2 or 3 decisions of the court arguing that in cases of sexual harassment, there was a lack of code of conduct on how to handle and prevent sexual harassment at the workplace. And after this, the Office of the Ombudsman, Ombudswoman, cooperated with other stakeholders, and in 2018 we had the first code of conduct on how to prevent and deal with sexual harassment within the civil service. It was adopted by the Council of Ministers and became obligatory throughout the public sector. 1 year later, OEV, the Employers and Industrialists Federation, and the labor unions, SEC and PO, the 2 big labor unions in Cyprus, signed a similar code. They came and they copied, let's say, the same code of conduct, and now they incorporated it into collective labor agreements. So now every collective labor agreement has a specific part on how sexual harassment is defined and how it should be dealt. And after the Me Too movement and all the incidents of sexual harassment we had in Cyprus recently, our office again began a new campaign, and in this context we have cooperated with several organizations, for example THOC, the Cyprus Theatre Organization,
It's not disabilities, people's people's issue, it's everyone's issue. So try to improve our empathy, and thank you again for taking such an important position.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Anyone else has another? We have been excellent, so you don't want to ask any questions. So
we are talking too much. Either we are talking too much. But if you allow me to say something to Panayota.
let's have a concluding remark.
Okay.
So you can put it. You can at the same
I will
time do
conclude all
both.
that. I don't want.
Yes.
I don't want any other statement. But she's right. I mean, at the end of the day, we need everybody to understand that it's a matter of democracy, and let's be all involved in that. It's the same what I said before about the committee about the human rights and the equality of sexes. It cannot be represented only by women, so that's why we put the political pressure, and we have some men as well. So it's a matter that concerns us all, and we have to put theory into action. So that is our scope, that is our goal, and I hope the next time we will meet again, we will have better numbers and better, let's say, decision at the decision-making level decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any remarks you want to make? Just 50 seconds. Well, if not, I will just take a minute for myself. Okay. This is equality. Just to summarize, as per my notes, what we have said today, and please add if I'm missing, what I heard today is that there is a need of multi-agency collaboration and the state and the stakeholders and academics and all relevant in regards to equality and inclusivity. What I also heard is that we have laws, very good laws, but we need more than laws. We need to improve them. You need to fight about the femicide law, I have to say that. But we need more than that. We need more policies and strategies. We need awareness and an education with empathy, inclusiveness, and equality. Culture maybe needs to revisit it so we can understand what the benefits and what the needs of people in need or are vulnerable, all with diversity. And finally, what I have here is that we come to a common agreement that all these actions that will promote equality, gender equality, improve inclusiveness at the local, but also at the European level. And also this all will prevent inequalities and of course build a healthy, hopefully a healthy community. I don't know if I have missed anything. Yes, have something I missed. So Josie wants to say a final.
I think a word that we missed today is that, in my personal opinion, clearly my personal opinion, is we need more of feminism. We need more feminism because then we will have more inclusion. We do need men as allies, but we also need men to leave the place so that we come in. And I just wanted to finish up with that. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you for having the patience to listen to our very fruitful discussion. Thank you. Thank you. You are going to have lunch. You know the place. Okay.